Hi, everybody. You know, I talked to you about this before, the Allard Prize, right? So that's the prize for an international integrity. So they're a group up in Canada, Vancouver, from the Peter Allard Law School, and they find people fighting corruption all around the world, and they try to elevate them and tell their stories. Their stories are unbelievably compelling, and these are people who are really fighting corruption and putting their lives on the line to fight corruption in a way that I don't know if I would have the courage to do. Pretty sure I wouldn't have the courage to do in America. These are people really risking, like the way Chelsea Manning risks and Edward Snowden. These are real whistleblowers who are fighting corruption. And so we showed you about the unbelievable corruption being fought by the car wash lawyers, the Lava Jato lawyers in Brazil. They had sitting senators put in jail, former presidents put in jail of the country. Unbelievable. Oil company executives they put in jail. Now we're going to talk about in Egypt. Watch this corruption fighter in Egypt, and it should inspire you like it inspired me, and it makes me want to actually do something real, risk to do something. Let's watch.
With the promise of the Arab Spring, new hope surged through Egypt in 2011, sparked by liberal, anti-capitalist, nationalist, and feminist ideals. That hope was short-lived. What seemed like positive change turned into a constantly shifting, unstable political situation, leaving ordinary citizens caught in a tug-of-war between the military, the judiciary, and dozens of political parties vying for power. The legacy of those politics hasn't been good news for women. It's made the work of Aza Salman that much harder.
I'm fighting against the conservative mentality in Egypt. I work with women, especially in family law, and I am women human rights defenders. Disease is not easy in Egypt.
Over 20 years ago, Aza founded the Center for Egyptian Women's Legal Assistance. Her work is based in Cairo's worst slum, where she deals with culturally sensitive issues such as marital rape and the right for women to divorce.
The center focuses on access to justice, combating violence against women, advocacy, and providing services for marginalized women. Aza's dream is to aid and help marginalized women have a voice and have someone to advocate for their own rights. She always talked to us as team about how it is important to be in a slum area, for instance, and why is it we have this perspective of working with the communities. She believes that change will come from beneath, from within the community itself. It's not something that we should impose.
But Aza's dreams have been under siege. Egyptian society has continued to lean farther and farther to the right. In 2011, authorities raided 17 non-governmental organizations working on democracy and human rights issues. As a result, there was a huge backlash against activists. Then, matters got even worse for Aza.
In 2015, I had lunch with some friends in downtown. And in this time, I heard this peaceful demonstration, and I went outside and I saw the policeman killed a woman, her name activist Shayma al-Sabbagh. And after this, I went to public prosecutor to put my testimony about this, but they accused me as a part in this demonstration. But I am not a member in this political party. I am not part in this peaceful demonstration.
Aza became a defendant, accused of protesting illegally. Although she was eventually acquitted, she became a target.
So here she is. She goes to expose crimes. She goes to expose a murder by the government. What they do, they turn her into a criminal. I wonder where else they do that. Chelsea Manning, anybody? Edward Snowden, anybody? They're exposing crimes by our government, and we turn them into criminals. That's exactly what they did. She saw a murder. She went to report it. Hey, there was a government worker who murdered someone. Oh, we're going to prosecute you now for telling us that. And that's what they did.
And that's, taking place in a place that has a lot of unrest going on, especially as of recent. A friend of mine was in Egypt. She was doing work with the Peace Corps in Cairo when a lot of the big unrest happened. Like, she was right there in Tahrir Square, and the stuff she described, the stuff that she would talk about in regards to what journalists went through, because she was friends with some journalists there, and like what they had to go through to try to do their jobs and the opposition they faced. There would be like underground free speech nights and stuff like that. It's a really scary climate. So for this woman to be public with an organization like this and to confront some of those issues, it's incredibly brave.
Brave is a term that gets thrown around in Hollywood a lot.
Right.
This is actual bravery.
Right.
That's actual bravery. It gets even worse. Watch.
This was the first step in the authorities' efforts to destroy her. Instead of retreating, Aza was emboldened. She fought harder for enforcing and enhancing the rule of law by establishing what's known as the Protecting Witnesses and Whistleblowers Coalition. This was supported wholeheartedly by international human rights organizations.
The international support or region support, it is very important to me because this is both impression against the Egyptian government and also to help me, I am not alone.
Then in 2016 came the biggest challenge of all. Egypt's President El-Sisi put a plan into force that imposed strict regulations on NGOs, accelerating a brutal crackdown on human rights.
The current government is actually trying to attack and stop the work of the civil society organizations, our organization included. That happens because they believe that we receive funds in order to harm the national interest, for example, or to add the Western values or advocate for Western values in our Egyptian society. Which is not true, by the way. What we're talking about is human rights and women's rights.
So 2 years now, we didn't receive any fund. The government didn't give us approval for any proposal or any project. It is difficult.
If we don't receive funds, that means we cannot do the work or provide the services we provide because people either need salaries, and even if we work on a voluntary basis, then we wouldn't have the money to go and pay for the court fees, for instance. So they dry up our resources.
In many cases, NGOs were given criminal status, and Aza was no exception. Late in 2016, she was arrested at her home in Cairo, accused of tax evasion, establishing an illegal entity, and much more.
Last year when the police arrested me and they came in my home, I didn't understand. I feeling unfair. I feeling I didn't deserve this. But after this is the media put a lot of my picture in media, in TV, and this meaning invite people to attack me in the street. And this is scare me. And especially when they put some details about it, Aza Sulaiman take money from America, Qatar, and she has 52 million Egyptian.
So they are attacking Aza because she's very out loud about women's rights, about the rights of women in the private sphere. This is something that is dangerous for the government to talk about, because that means or she's raising awareness in the families about women's rights.
But in reality, they frozen my account, personal and my company, and I can't work outside, and I can work, my resource in Egypt very limited, so, and I haven't this money. So they put a lot of liars around me. Yeah, and also this is hurt my personal and my family and my sons.
Aza remains strong, but the future of her organization and of human rights in Egypt remains uncertain.
Because if I lost my hope, I can die. I still fighting.
So that's real courage. She doesn't go run away. The government of Egypt, which is unbelievable, oppressive military rule, right? It's run by the military, and she just fought back. She got bolder. She's fighting for the people who have no voice, no one to fight for them. Really made me feel like I'm not doing anything. Really made me feel like I should be doing more. What a very humbling. Again, what a heady experience. Steph and I were both there at this award ceremony, and wow, it makes you want to do something, doesn't it? Makes me want to do something. Makes me want to fight harder, fight corruption even harder in America. We do live in an oligarchy. We do. So the Allard Prize, good on Peter Allard for doing this, and everybody at the Allard Prize. Portland, Oregon, the Jimmy Dore Show is coming to the Alberta Rose Theater November 12th, and we're going to Burbank, California, November 6th, and the Hollywood Improv on October 16th. There's a link for tickets right down there. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for all links for all shows.